Having spent the better part of the last 10 years covering the restaurant industry, I've been fortunate enough to cross paths with the country's top chefs. What I've always enjoyed most about these culinary encounters aren't necessarily the meals or the dishes themselves, though they certainly are memorable, but rather the conversations and discussions which we've had once service has come to a close. Now I'm sharing these conversations with you. Join me around the table. This is After Service with Steve. Today, I'm in Rosebank, where I'll be visiting Joburg's acclaimed live fire eatery, Marble. It's here where, through the celebration of the quintessential South African tradition of cooking on fire, that they have raised the bar of Joburg's dining scene. I'll be chatting to Chef David Higgs about the past 7 years of Marble, what's next, and how he deals with the pressure of the industry. Welcome to After Service with Steve. Today I'm at Marble Restaurant with Chef David Higgs. Dave, how's it going?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for being on the show. Always great to chat.
Yeah.
I was actually looking back on Instagram a while ago, and it's almost exactly 7 years to the day where we came up here when this place was a parking lot and the idea of Marble was coming together. We both look a lot younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was an amazing flashback to see that image and where the Marble group has come now. Obviously, Marble is the figurehead of the group, and you've got Zoo and Saint and Pantry, and soon to have Marble Cape Town. I mean, it's been quite a journey.
It's been quite a journey, and I can't actually believe it's been 7 years.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, it certainly doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between. It feels like 7 years. It feels like yesterday, or it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of no middle ground.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But I think what I've always loved about Marble, and I think it's something that has, in many ways, whether intentional or not been the intention, is you've revolutionized Joburg's dining scene through what you've offered here. And I think it's been an incredible space that has really given Joburg what Joburg wants. And I think before that, everyone had been trying to emulate, fine dining or what they thought Joburg wanted. How did that come about? What was the driving force to create something like this?
Look, I think the most important thing is that my partner Gary, he came to see me at the Saxon one day, just completely out of the blue, and presented me with Marble essentially. This was a presentation, the name, the concept of cooking on fire, and everything else. And people thought I was absolutely off my head when I left Rustenfeller, Stella Artois, to come to the Radisson. And yes, obviously every opportunity to come here and do fine dining and something that I did. But the Radisson turned out to be, and accidentally so, turned out to be a very important part of what Marble is now. Because it really identified to me that people are really wanting a good time.
Yeah.
So what happened at the Radisson? I think it was called Central One. We called it in the end. One of my first sort of clients, their regular guest, was Tasha from Tasha's.
Okay.
And she used to bring, and I could never understand it. She used to come there with 20 people, and they would, it was a noise, it was a racket, but it was always a joy.
Very Greek.
Very Greek, yeah. But they weren't all Greeks. They were obviously
of course.
It was the Joburg crowd, and they were there. They were loving the food. It was really basic, and it was my first sort of introduction to, okay, this is something that can work. But I left it at that, and 9 months later or a year later, I moved on to the Saxon Hotel, and another very important step in the process. The Saxon Hotel, obviously, we introduced Restaurant 500, and I have to say, I think there, I sort of made that decision that fire and dining for me was not something where I wanted to be anymore.
Okay.
And also I realized that with the Joburg crowd, it was something possibly not that they wanted. Let me just explain that.
Yeah.
Loved the space. Used to come upstairs, come sit, and then they would order steak downstairs from Kunu. So they wanted the luxury environment, but it absolutely kills you. It kills your soul. Kills
and you're
your chefs,
spending hours and hours putting together these delicate dishes.
These kohlrabi and poached kabeljau, one of my favorite dishes. And anyway, so sometimes you also just have to recognize what it is that makes people happy.
Yeah.
And when Gary presented me with in my own mind, I'd already made that transition without actually even knowing.
You were at that point.
I was also at that point.
Yeah.
And just fortunately it works. I mean, Steve, you walk into a mall or to down in Parkhurst, a strip where there's a whole lot of restaurants. You have one restaurant that's can't keep up, and there's another restaurant that's not doing any business.
Completely.
You just don't know. You just never know if it's going to work or
Yeah.
not. And we
It's always a bit of a gamble. I
Yeah,
think,
it's always a gamble. And also I think that's one of the biggest things with us as restaurateurs, as chefs. That terrible cliche is you're only as good as your last meal, but geez, man, there's so much truth in that, and you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
100%.
COVID,
Yeah.
I mean, you know it, load shedding. I mean, just
And everyone's a critic
day.
as well. So now, yeah.
So it's been a journey, but fortunately it's gone well for the Marble Group, and we've grown from strength to strength.
No, and I think it really has. It sets the benchmark of what a Joburg restaurant can be, and it's a conversation I have relatively often, spending more time in Cape Town. Is that Joburg is very much the art of going out, whereas Cape Town may be about the art of dining.
Yeah.
But in Joburg, it's about, dressing up, being seen, being in a space. There must be a vibe. It must be beautiful.
Absolutely.
And food is, it's obviously an important part of going
secondary.
out, but it's definitely a, lower level to the tier of experience. Experience is first and foremost what people are coming for.
And I don't only think it's a Joburg thing. I think it's become a global thing. If you look at the restaurant awards and look at what's just happened in the UAE with restaurants, it's all these big burly restaurants. And it's tough for everyone around the world,
100%.
Like it's not easy for anybody. We always make a big deal about how hard it is for us South Africans and what we're dealing with. I think
the world's not in a great place.
100%. So when you go out and when you spend your money, you really want to have a good time, and not everybody is food centric, not everybody is focused on the food.
I would say most people aren't food centric. Most people want to have a good time. Yeah.
Is that not the truth?
Completely. Yeah. And I think, what has been so clever about Marble in particular is that you've combined this fairly simple love of fire-cooked food with top-notch service and, great wine program, great bar experience. And I think it's really something that Joburg has gravitated to as something they understand.
Yeah.
And, is that something you've seen in the shift since 7 years ago? Has there been a progression in Marble's, the understanding of the clientele, what the clientele want? What shift have you seen?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we've really got to understand the client. We've realized how our weeks change. So from a Sunday to a Thursday, it's very corporate. It's a very different crowd to the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday lunch crowd. Guys are really just there to have a good time. So where the corporate is somebody who enjoys the wine, enjoys the food, but also enjoys then going back to the bar in the evening afterwards. So I think we understand our clients a lot better, so we can cater to them a lot better. However, it still always comes down to service. It's really, and that's probably one of our biggest challenges every single day, is maintaining the service levels.
Yeah.
Something that we work incredibly hard about, and we have really, really good managers on our floor that spend a lot of time on training. So it's one of our key things.
And I think it shows, and it's something people understand. People understand good service. I think it's sometimes a bit more of a struggle to get people to understand food.
Yeah.
But if you're being looked after and you're made to feel special, I think
absolutely.
That's all a meal is about, is gathering together and just.
And don't you think sometimes like I was talking to a guest last night, don't you think sometimes we've almost lost the art or the feel of dining out? Like to eat out was always such a treat, and no one went to eat out to criticize. Yes, if something was wrong, it's burnt or it's salty or whatever, that's a different story. Don't come tell me that the basil doesn't go with a courgette or whatever. That old story.
Yeah.
But haven't we almost lost that
joy in going out?
Joy of eating out.
It's become almost too accessible in a lot of ways.
But the cameras, the photographs, everybody's again, the food is secondary.
100%.
Even in fine dining restaurants.
Completely.
Even in fine dining restaurants. So sometimes you do get disillusioned by the whole thing.
Yeah.
It gets you down a little bit. It's not about the food and But then you turn around, when you stand at the pass, you turn around and you just see and you feel the vibe in the restaurant.
There's an energy
and everybody's happy. You know what I mean? So what are you complaining about?
No, completely.
I know that the food coming off the pass is the best that we can do. And I think that's the other thing about restaurants, Steve. I think, and especially when you look at large format restaurants, is that we strive with the Marble Group to be the highest level that we possibly can, that we are consistent.
Yeah.
And I think that you can't do more than that, you know.
And at the end of the day, that's what people want. They want to know what they're coming for.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, there are obviously times when you want to go and have a very theatrical, you know, very fine experience.
Absolutely.
And as you say, a lot of the time it's for the gram.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a time where you want to go and you just want to like sit around a table, catch up with family, mates, whatever. That's what a meal is about, isn't it? It's about coming together. It's about creating connection.
And any of us sitting around the table can easily say that our best meals come from our moms. You know?
Oh, without a doubt.
And the Sunday lunch, or that single plate of food with a glass of wine, where there's no pretense, there's no judging, there's no, where all of that falls away.
It's
you know,
just a simple
like when
joy
you're
of a
sitting in
good
someone's
meal.
house.
Yeah.
As soon as you sit in a restaurant, you know, now the cameras come out and everybody, you know, it's amazing how that is.
And everyone's trying to, you know, find their angle, what they're going to say, or fair enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a
and it is. I know that it's a business.
Yeah.
You know, you and I understand it more than most, but it's something that gets us all down as well. You know?
Completely. Yeah. I think it is. It's a really interesting. It's a very difficult industry to be in because I think more than any other, we take it very personally.
Yeah.
No matter which side of the path you're on, it's you know. It's an industry where, firstly, I think there's a lot of personality, but it's a lot of heart, and it's disheartening when that's not reciprocated, or when it's, you know, when you're let down by it. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, all you really want is for people to have a good time.
Yeah.
And if we look at, you know, cooking around a fire, I think that takes it to, you know, the beginning of time. That's where people have been gathering around, sharing stories, chatting, communicating. It's been safety. It's been so many different, you know, aspects of
conversation.
Conversation. And how did that? Why was that important to bring into Marble?
Look, I think again, you know, it's something that Gary sort of came up with, and it's not something that I've initially would have looked at. I think, over time and over the next couple of months, I probably would have looked at something like it because it was becoming very fashionable and trendy around the world. But you know, he came to this, and it makes absolute sense. You know, like this is what we do on a daily basis. But I think the standout thing for me is to be able to take this real primitive way of cooking, and then to add this lovely environment. You know, so you have the best of both worlds. So when you walk in, you feel almost not stuffy, but if you don't know the place, you feel special.
Yeah.
But then you see the fire, and then you almost breathe, and you say, "Oh, geez, you know, I can actually relax." And then it's the vibe, and everybody, you know, it's not a hushed tone sort of environment.
Yeah.
You know, and people walk up to the fire, and it's a conversation starter.
And you can have fun. You can be, you know, within reason. You can be loud. You can talk at the table.
Absolutely.
It's not about.
No, my friend, we're Africans. We make noise.
100%.
So that's what it is, you know. And sometimes as a restaurateur, you get so upset and like, but geez, man, people are having fun. Just let it be.
That's what they're doing, and they're spending, and they're having a good time.
100%.
It's their money at the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, when it comes to fire, watching where Marble was when you opened and you were wearing ice packs, it's really something you've managed to tame in a lot of ways.
No, Steve, you know as well as I know that this restaurant almost killed me.
Yeah, no, it was
the first 3 months. It was the first 6 months, but the first 3 months, man, it still brings back so many emotions. You know?
Yeah.
It almost killed me.
I mean, I remember even just the day of launch, walking in here, and you were under a table screwing together a table.
Yeah, but I shouldn't have been. I should have been in the kitchen.
You should have been in the kitchen.
And I think that was the biggest challenge. You know, it was just this, you know, trying to cook for 300 people. You know, 200 people.
Yeah.
And not getting it right. You know.
And on a medium, you haven't mastered, really.
Well, we hadn't mastered it.
Yeah,
we hadn't mastered it. I mean, I would say just before COVID. The end of 2019 towards 2020, we were absolutely hammering it, and we'd eventually sort of tamed the beast, you know.
Completely, yeah.
And it was such a beautiful feeling. But that was 2019.
Yeah.
When did we say 7 years before that? It took us 2 years to get
3 years. Yeah. 2016 was
100%.
when we first came up here. So
like it really upsets me when people, you know, I mean, there's obviously a lot of jealousy within the industry and with people outside us, and you know, people always think it's easy, but
because they do it for 5 people on a Sunday in their Weber.
But you know what? That's why Marble is so special to me. and that's why it will always be the flagship. And that's because this is
a
where
lot
we
of
cut our teeth.
blood, sweat, and tears went
As
into.
myself, my partners, put our partnership under massive
Yeah.
stress. You know, he must have been doubting me. I was doubting myself. You know, but now we look back and we think, geez, you know, what an absolute
How it's
it's unbelievable.
come together.
Yeah.
And I think what really is amazing is how fire really has become an ingredient in Marvel's food.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a char or it's a element that is, you know, incorporated. There's always an element of that flame through the menu. How do you go about now conceptualizing a menu that has to be, you know, understandable and appreciated by 250 people at a shot?
I think that's again where a fine dining restaurant is sort of different to a large format restaurant. You know, is that we are trying to keep a lot more people happy, and they're not like when you go to La Colombe or to any of the top restaurants, you know, you're going there for a reason, and you know why you're going
there for a specific experience.
For a specific experience. And here, you know, if you haven't been here before, you don't quite know what you're going to get. You know, so we are feeding a lot more people, and that makes it a lot more tricky.
Yeah.
However, I think the beautiful thing about Marvel is it is meat, fish, vegetables, but literally every single last thing. Whether we're making a sauce, somehow the fire has been
has
involved.
an element,
You know, so if we are making a smoked tomato sauce, the tomatoes will be roasted on the fire, and then the sauce gets made. There's nothing, not one of our dishes doesn't involve
have an element
of the fire, and trust me, that makes it incredibly difficult as well. But it's something that people are somehow familiar with. You know, I had a guest in the restaurant, and he was sitting at table 37 right there in front of me, and he got so excited. He was from England, and he was going off about the flavor of burn in his mouth and the coals. You know, that he could taste the primates. I don't know what he was on about, but he obviously had a few glasses of wine as well.
Clearly,
but you know, and like it somehow just takes us back. We don't even know it sometimes. You know, like this
ancestral, like kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And I mean, whether it's nostalgia of childhood or it's, you know, as South African, I think fire is such a quintessential flavor.
Yeah.
And I mean, you do it so well, whether it's your premium, you know, cuts of steaks or it's something like the ribeye, which is a favorite of mine on the menu. But I mean, it's also something you keep constantly fresh. Like that ribeye, I remember, you know, it used to have some marrow bone on it. Now it's got that like almost nostalgic Jack Daniel's sauce. Yeah. How do you go about like shifting that? And then surely now you've got 250 people who know what they want.
Yeah.
And now you're changing it.
Yeah. So that's the trick, you know, is that when there's something good, you've got to leave it for a bit, you know, because not everybody comes every day. So you want to give people experience. So if there's dishes that sell, you try and leave them on for about 6 months because you want everybody to come and experience it. But you know, there's something about the classics. We talk about a Jack Daniel's sauce or classic pepper sauce or béarnaise or whatever. You know, we started introducing the classics to the menu, and you know, Steve, like it's kind of, and I guess it goes back to the whole fine dining thing. It's like sometimes people just want to eat what they know.
Yeah.
And when I've been cooking for 34 years, and like you sort of know what people want, you know. And I don't mean that in arrogantly in any way, but you know, like I know what South Africans want.
You've been through it.
So with the repertoire that you have from all the years of cooking, and almost going all the way back to the buffet restaurants and the seafood platters when I started as a kid in the restaurant, you know, like those things are still popular, you know. So it's just about presenting them in a way that maybe is a little bit different,
into the space.
But the flavors are still there. And you know, the bottom line is sometimes people don't even realize that they're happy eating the meal. Yeah, they're having a glass of wine, they're talking.
They enjoy the experience.
Actually, the food, the nostalgia that evokes a lot of emotion and makes them happy, you know. Yeah. And if they're happy, I'm happy.
It's all you can ask for. I think after COVID, we've all realized that the best award you can hope for is a full restaurant, and that's you know, happy customers.
Yeah, and it's been incredible. This year is the first year, like I said to you, 2020, just before COVID hit. January and February and halfway through March were our biggest months ever, and then we shut down.
And
just got back to that now. We're sort of breaking records of numbers and stuff. So, yeah, and it started early this year. 10th of January, the corporates were back already. Really? International travel back already. So it came earlier this year as well. So, just we've had incredible months. And obviously, when we have those sort of months, we've got big teams now. We've got 500 staff between all the restaurants, and like, everybody's happy because everybody's busy. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, people aren't sitting, waiting.
You're not trying
sitting,
to.
Exactly.
And
keep people busy.
that's probably one of the most difficult things being down in the Cape. And I know it's not like that anymore. But these waves of emotions, personal emotions, like business is up and down. Where we've got back to a consistency, which is great.
And I mean, in Joburg, at least, it is there isn't really a season in Joburg. It is a consistent year, which is quite nice. Absolutely. Which I guess segues really nicely into what the future holds, and that's obviously Marble Cape Town. It's the next venture. It's in many ways, I think, a homecoming, but also very much on your own terms. Yeah,
I think so. There's obviously been a massive not need for because I mean Joburg Cape Town has all the restaurants, but there's been a lot of people that want the marble experience, in Cape Town, and I think there's space for more large format restaurants. I know that the Cove has been, they're opening a lot of restaurants, and there's, so there are those, but the marble experience is a slightly different one. The introduction of the fires, and like we've just ordered the grill from the States. We've got 2 massive Jospers, this whole range. Like it's really, really impressive. What we at, and Irene and the team have put together. Oh man. We've been worked with Grid. I mean, just goosebump stuff when they showed us these presentations of where we are with. Like, I can't wait to let everybody know. I know that we're going to bring out a clip very soon. We're busy with a video, but so there's a definite energy about Marble Cape Town. Every time we post something, there's a massive response, and that obviously gets us fired up.
Completely,
and although it will be different, the menu will be different, and I'll tell you now in which way, but it's still the marble experience. It's still the fires. It's still the meat. And I think that's somewhere where we can probably make quite a bit of a difference in Cape Town, is the meat offering. And
I think a large format offering. I think it's somewhere where you can go. I mean, I'm excited to have a bar to go to on a Sunday night. Yeah, that to me is what I'm super excited for. Spending more time in Cape Town, I think there's definitely a space for that. Yeah. But as you say, also somewhere you can go and just have a plate of food, like a beautiful plate of food.
Absolutely.
Rather than a multi-course experience.
And I think also with what we're really looking forward to with Marble in Cape Town is a good lunch trade. So it's this trade that runs from, especially in the summer and when the days are beautiful. This trade that runs almost from 11 o'clock through to 11 o'clock at night. It's just this continuous flow of people and the energy that creates.
And being in that prime location, the waterfront as well. You're going to have probably as eclectic a melting pot of people as you do here.
Absolutely, and the Joburg melting pot is so different to the Cape Town melting pot. Joburg melting pot is more of an African melting pot. All African.
Locally driven, whereas I think.
Where Cape Town is obviously local, but a large international. And what always blows me especially this time of the year, because we get a lot of American tourists coming through, is they're so surprised by Joburg and the energy in Joburg. They're almost disappointed to only be here one night, because they sit in the restaurant, and fortunately, we get a lot of that trade. And they just think, geez, like we've never experienced this in Cape Town. We've been there for 3 weeks.
The vibe, the energy,
I was chatting to a journalist on just 2-3 days ago, and she'd been to Toy the night before, and you know what that's like. But they loved it, She said, well, we couldn't find something like this in Cape Town,
It's different energy.
The night before. So there's definitely a different energy, and it's something for everybody.
No, of course.
So, yeah.
And when it comes to, you mentioned the grill works, you mentioned the Jospers. Yeah. Menu, is it going to be the same but different? Is it going to be something completely different?
No, it'll be the same but different. I think there's the most logical thing would be we're down at the coast. We've spoken about paellas and beautiful pan food that we can present at tables, and a couple of other sort of quite nice ideas. So there will be a lean towards more Mediterranean maybe. Okay. I've just been in Spain towards the end of last year, and I ate at a restaurant called Tokalma. Man, just the experience of smelling the sea air, and like it really got me thinking about Cape Town and what we can offer there. But from a brand and an interiors point of view,
the ethos.
Wow, man, it's going to be special. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, for one, I'm very much looking forward to it. We'll be back with Chef David Higgs after the break.
After Service with Steve is brought to you by Stella Artois, the internationally beloved Belgian beer, crafted from hand-selected ingredients. With a brewing legacy of over 6 centuries, Stella Artois invites us to make time for the Life Artois, where we can slow down, savor life's moments, and share the enjoyment of good food, great music, and each other. Join me as I open a beer and chat to the country's top chefs.
We're back with Chef David Higgs at Marble. Chef, we always end off the episode by talking about life outside the kitchen, a bit of a different way that chefs unwind, stuff like that. And I know anxiety is something we've spoken about often and something we both struggle with. You mentioned Marble's opening, which was this mammoth undertaking. How have you found it with, now running 4 restaurants and, everyone's now on social media. There's, I find even that work comes home with you and it's always on your phone and, people can always have their say and you can see it straight away. I sometimes think people don't realize that, there is a person on the other side of the screen.
Yeah. Look, I think anxiety is in this day and age is something that the majority of us are trying to deal with
completely
in our own ways. And sometimes we just ignore it and sometimes we think we're too, it's frowned upon in a way, which is the most ridiculous thing. I think you just got to identify what your issues are and what triggers it, and you got to find out what your release is. And I think that's the biggest thing, and the phone is your biggest issue. I mean, this thing
completely
is your biggest enemy in a way. It's also your biggest ally. We do all our business on here.
Very much.
You don't even need a laptop anymore. So I try and separate myself from my phone. I think what we've done is appoint key people in key places, and good people. We've got good training, so it allows you to separate yourself a little bit more. But probably
I think that is important. You should be able to step away and have downtime.
You can't do it. It's detrimental. It's unsustainable and it's detrimental for your business. Bottom line, and that's something that I've realized. But I think the one of the most important things is that you need that burst of endorphins. You need to do something, whether it be walking, running, cycling, or whatever it is that you find, because it does help. You sort so much out in your head when you exercise.
And I mean, you're obviously an avid cyclist. Are you still very much into that? Or are you still cycling?
I ride every day of my life. Every single day of my life. I don't ride less than 2 hours a day. In the morning, I wake up nice and early, go for a ride before it gets crazy, and you sort out a lot in that period in your own mind.
It's quiet time. It's just you time, and you're obviously not online.
Yeah, exactly. You can't.
Well, Chef, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
I'm not going to keep you any longer.
This was an episode of After Service with Steve. Next time, we'll be sitting down with Chef Amaury Burger. If you enjoyed this episode of After Service with Steve, subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. After Service with Steve is brought to you by Stella Artois.